So earlier, I talked about my reaction to the new Toons Looniversity trailer, which was dubbed Meet the New Class. As well as before that, I did a review on Really Sent, the Pepe Le Pew Penelope cartoon, which is considered, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, that they've done. But, I also did a video on camera talking about, the fact that Warner Brothers was going to put those two together. But at the end of that video, or at least towards the end of it, I talked about the fact that with Tiny Toons Looniversity upcoming, and the fact that Fifi Le Fume is going to be in the show. Yes, Fifi Le Fume, a female skunk character based off Pepe Le Pew, was going to be in the show, potentially as one of the main characters, or at least supporting main characters. It got me thinking, and I'm sure others have thought about this too. We see that each of the characters are going to be based off the Looney Tune counterparts, just like in the original. Buster and Babs are based off Bugs Bunny, and by an extent, Honey Bunny, or the Honey character from Bosco and Honey when it comes to Babs. Well, now we know in this interpretation, they're going to be based off, Bugs and Lola. We know that. We know Plucky is going to be based off Daffy, just like in the original, and there's a good chance Shirley the Loon, by her new look, is going to be based off Tina Russo. We know that. We also know that, Foulmouth based off Foghorn Leghorn, Furball off, Sylvester, Sneezy off of Sniffles, and so on. Sweetie Bird, of course, based off Tweety, and like I said, and so on. So when it comes to Fifi, obviously you have to explain, or at least kind of showcase to people who she's based off of. Because in the original, we know she was based off Pepe Le Pew. We know that. So here in the new one, you gotta basically pretty much explain how she's, existing, if you will. You gotta explain, basically what character, or at least showcase what character she is based on. And to me, this might be, and I said this at the end of the other video, that I did on camera the other day, this might be the opportunity to where they bring Pepe Le Pew back. But they bring him back with sort of a tweak to his personality. And what I mean by a tweak to his personality is the fact that, to me, he's still going to be somewhat of the Pepe we know, but he's going to be a little bit more different. He's going to be more like, hey, I'm a lover, but I know I can't be around anybody unless I control the stench. Because let's take a look at Fifi in the original. Let's take a look at Fifi in the original Tiny Toons. It was basically played up that the only reason she ever starts stinking, if you will, is if she's excited about something, or she's enamored by someone, attracted to someone, or she gets angry and just like a natural skunk, she lets it loose, in defense. So they basically worked that into her character. Like, hey, the only reason Fifi is going to have her stench is if she gets excited, she gets attractive, falls in love, or she's defending herself or her friends. And we saw that in the original, and I'm sure they're going to carry that on over to the new show. But be that as it may, again, how are you going to explain who she's based off of, how she comes into existence as a, basically a college version, if you will, of an established Looney Tune character, if said Looney Tune character is wiped from existence? How can you explain that? You can't. Now, I know some people might say, maybe, Penelope's going to come in and Penelope will be her mentor. And that's true. They could use this as a catalyst to make Penelope the mentor and thus turn Penelope Pussycat into Penelope Skunk. We could see that. We could see that happening, but I doubt Warner Brothers would want to mess with that formula. Now, they could go the route with Fifi that they did with Babs. Remember, for a while, Babs never really had a true mentor, because of the fact that basically she was a female. She was the female opposition of Buster. Now you might say, well, the same was with Shirley the Loon, right? Not so quite, because even though we didn't see her on Tiny Toons, pretty much everybody knew that Shirley the Loon was based off the original Melissa Duck. We all know that. I mean, you take a look at the original Melissa Duck and her design. You take a look at how Shirley's designed in the original Tiny Toons, and you kind of get the idea of who Shirley is based off of. The same with Fifi Le Fume. Fifi Le Fume is the female Tiny Toon character equivalent of Pepe Le Pew. And you could see that. You could see that right off the bat. And Pepe was her mentor. And by extension, so was Penelope. So, fast forward to this new revising of the Tiny Toon franchise with Looniversity. And this is a question that I'm sure a lot of people are going to bring up. Like, how are you going to explain her existence? How are you going to explain her being, around, the Looniversity, her being, a Tiny Toon herself? How are you going to explain who she's based off of? How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that if who she's based off of is canceled? You can't. You can't explain it. Now, I know some people would say, well, in the original, and it looks like here in the new one, they have some new characters and everything that are not totally based off the actual Looney Tunes. And that is true. I will give you that. That is true. That in the original, and even seemingly here in the new one, there were new exclusive characters introduced. I will not deny that. But if they're going out of the way, as we saw in one of the first teaser trailers, if they're going out of the way to bring in a Tiny Toon version of Cool Cat, that's right, Cool Cat, who was a character that was part of the Seven Arts era, if you will, of Warner Brothers, the Seven Arts era of Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies, if they're going out of the way to make that reference, if you will, to bring in a Tiny Toon version of Cool Cat into the show, then obviously you look at Fifi and you say to yourself, well, we know who she's based off of. The question is, will we see that character? Will that character be referenced? Or will the opposite to that character be the new mentor? You see, when I look at Fifi being here, yes, I'm glad she's in the show. I mean, there was talk that she wouldn't be because of who she was based off of and everything. But thankfully, they've rectified that. They've rectified that. She is in the show because obviously she's not as grab happy like Pepe was. Even in the original Tiny Toon show, she was not that way. She had her cartoons, yes. She had her cartoons with Furball, with Calamity. Yes, she had her moments. And the reason she had her moments in those shows was to pay in those episodes, in those shorts, was to pay homage to Pepe Le Pew. Because basically that was the one thing about Tiny Toons as well. They would have different, episodes throughout its run where basically, and it was mostly in the earlier seasons, where a lot of the established characters, or the ones that would be the main characters, would get animated shorts similar to what, I wouldn't say similar, but identical, or similarly identical, I should say, to the Looney Tune characters they were based off of. They would. Buster would get one, Buster and Babs would get one together or individually. Plucky would get one. Plucky and Shirley at times. Hampton would get one and everything. They would get shorts that kind of felt a little familiar to what the original Looney Tunes did. Not all the time, but you felt that essence there, that spirit there. And Fifi was no exception. Fifi was put into some unique situations. I mean, the one with Furball, that's a callback to the whole Pepe Le Pew deal. That's what it was. And the same thing with, Calamity Coyote. It was a callback to that, but with the added bonus that it basically kind of was a callback to Dog Pounded, the end of Dog Pounded, that whole situation there with Sylvester and Tweety. Sylvester wanted to get to Tweety and everything, and the one way he knew how to do it, put a damn white stripe down it, basically paint a white stripe down his back, and there you go. It just ended up backfiring on him, in the end, when it attracted Pepe, who has no idea that this is a male cat he's fawning over. You get what I'm saying? So, they had, similar scenarios like the original characters that they were based on. So if you're going to bring Fifi into the new Tiny Toon Looniversity, the question obviously is, how are you going to explain who she's based off of? How are you going to, answer the question of, okay, who is she based off of? I mean, again, people will know. So again, how are you going to explain her existence in the show when you have millions of people tuning in, on September 9th, or tuning in the day before on Max, binge watching all the episodes, that are out at that time? How are you going to basically explain her existence to those that watch it, knowing who she's based off of, and yet you're trying to hide it because of what that character used to do? How are you going to get around that? How are you going to explain her existence? Without acknowledging, showcasing, referencing, and bringing in said character. I mean, again, the only way around it that I see them working with is Penelope being the new mentor for Fifi. That's the only way. That is the only way, in my opinion. Now again, she could be put into a scenario to where she's one of the new Tiny Toon characters that's doesn't have a mentor because she's original, she's new, and that could work with that too. But again, just like in the original, they did a story with Babs finding a mentor in Honey, one of the original Looney Tune characters from back in the day, before Bugs, the Bosco and Honey deal. So they found a way around that. They found a way to give her a mentor, someone she could look up to, someone that was like her in many ways. So, again, the question obviously is, how are you going to explain Fifi's role, Fifi's existence in Tiny Toon Looniversity if the character that she was based off of in the original Tiny Toon show is now canceled? How are you going to get around that? How are you going to answer that? That's the question. That's the question. Again, they could go with Penelope and maybe come up with a reasoning, and that's fine. That's fine. More power to you. At least you're giving her a mentor. But even still, people will know. People that grew up on Tiny Toons, people that are growing up currently with the new crop of cartoons that are based on cartoons and stuff that I grew up on, people grew up on, people will know who she's originally based off of. Even the new generation of kids and kids and teens and all that, they know who she's going to be based off of. So again, why hide it? Why avoid it? And hopefully they don't. What I'm thinking is this. That what's going to happen is we will see Pepe come back. We saw him make a little cameo in the new Animaniacs in that homage short that they did with Wacko. Not Wacko, but Yakko. They did that little, little drawing homage they did with Yakko, if you will, in the new Animaniacs. Just like they used to do in the classic Looney Tunes with Bugs and Daffy. Someone would mess with them artistically. So we saw him make a little cameo there. To me, I think the reason he made that cameo is to show people, hey, Warner Brothers, has not forgotten about him. He's still here. He's still Looney Tune. But right now, we're waiting for things to cool down. We're waiting for the right opportunity to bring him back. And I think if they're playing the cards right, we could see him come back in Tiny Toons Looniversity. We could see it. And why? Because again, the timing probably is the right time. Like, they're basically giving things time to cool off. Because, it's been 2 years since he was canceled, right? So in those 2 years, has it been brought up again? No. In fact, people have basically put it in the back of their minds and probably forgot about it. So I think what's going to happen, in my opinion, is they're going to bring him back in Tiny Toons Looniversity. Because again, how do you explain Fifi's existence in the show, if you don't kind of showcase who she's based off of? I'm just saying. But what do you guys think? Do you think, with Tiny Toons Looniversity just around the corner, do you think, with Fifi being part of it, that this will open the door to finally bring Pepe Le Pew back, maybe with a slight change in his personality where he's not so grab happy, but more like, hey, I understand why you're avoiding me. Let me fix that. Let me adjust and let me be more courteous or whatever. Do you think he'll come back with more of a, I guess you could say, respectable, hey, let's take it one step at a time. Let me, let me turn off my stench kind of deal, kind of attitude or whatever, personality. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. You will get an audio version of this at my BW Roses Discussions podcast, which you can listen to on Spotify, as well as all the other audio podcast affiliates, except for Pandora. But more specifically, you can listen to it on Spotify. Also, guys, check out my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Support me over at patreon.com at BW Roses. Check me out at archiveofourown.org at BWRoses98. Check me out. Follow me on twitch.tv/BWRoses. Also follow me on VENMO. That's right, VENMO, VIEMO. Check me out there, or VIMEO. Check me out at VENMO for content there. Also, check me out at DeviantArt.com. I'm at BVW1979 and at inkbunny.net at BW Roses. But guys, give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts overall on, basically, if you think we're going to get Pepe Le Pew back when Tiny Toons Looniversity comes around. Because again, how are you going to explain Fifi's existence and who she's based off of? Give me your thoughts. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And until next time, guys, I am out. Y'all have a good day.